Well, thanks everybody for coming. Thanks for the chamber for putting this on. Thanks to the high school, Len, for hosting us here tonight. Thanks to all the candidates. I'm going to introduce the candidates in a minute, but I wanted to very briefly go over the ground rules for tonight's forum. First and foremost, the candidate forum is an opportunity for voters to get to know the candidates. So we're asking the candidates to restrict their answers to their own positions and not to reflect or speak upon the positions of the other candidates. The candidates will have 3 minutes for opening statements. Time warnings will be given by Bryce down here in the front row. He's got cards for a warning in 30 seconds and when time is up. So he'll be waving those around if you're trying to get your attention. Subsequent to that, there will be general questions that candidates will have up to 2 minutes to answer for each question. At my discretion, there might be some candidates, there are a few questions that have come in here that probably are like 30 seconds or a minute, so I might, at my discretion, sort of say we'll keep those a little bit shorter. Again, there'll be time warnings for Bryce at 30 seconds and when time is up. We've got some general questions that are going to be addressed to all the candidates. In addition, we've got a number of questions that came into the Chamber's website in advance of the event, and folks have submitted questions here already in advance that they'd like to see answered. If you have additional questions that you can think of, during the process, please then bring them over to David and Nick over at the table over here to my left, and they'll filter through that and they know what we already have up here as questions. We'll do our best to get to every question, but we don't want to be here all night, so we're going to cut this off probably at about 8:30. If things are going well, we may go a little longer than that, but that's about how long you guys are all in here for. At the end, when we're wrapping up, candidates will have about 90 seconds for a closing statement, and again, time warnings will be given at 30 seconds or when time is up. One comment, or one note about ballot measure S. Because that question is already on the ballot, the County Council has put it on the ballot. We're not going to actually be asking candidates questions about that. That's up to the voters. And this isn't a forum to debate Measure S. This is for all the candidates to find out about, for all of you to find out more about the positions of the candidates and how they would, the positions and actions they would take as members of City Council. So, with that, I'll introduce the candidates. In no particular order, Nick Mitchell, current City Councilman and local business owner. Big Dave Kiesler. Leslie Weil, local business owner. And Kyle Rowley, local firefighter. And so, again, in no particular order, we'll start with opening statements, and Nick, you've got 3 minutes.
Can you hear me? It's working great. Yeah. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming out to tonight's candidate forum. I'd like to start by saying that Artis Steele, the other incumbent candidate, couldn't be here tonight. He has an annual hunting trip with all of his old friends that he goes to every year, and it was pre-scheduled way before this. So Artis was sorry that he couldn't be here, but he already had prior plans. A little bit about myself, in case you don't know me. I was pretty much born and raised in Dunsmuir. I went to Dunsmuir Elementary School, graduated from Dunsmuir High School, took off to Bend, Oregon for a year of fun and snow skiing, joined the United States Army for 2 years, came back and went to 4 or 5 years of college, and then I came home to take over the family grocery store. So I like to say I'm a lifelong resident of Dunsmuir. I know most of the people in town, and I have the opportunity to talk to a lot of people at the grocery store, and I think I have a good understanding of what the people of Dunsmuir really want. So I think that makes me a good candidate for City Council, because I can relate my personal experience in Dunsmuir and my knowledge of the people and try to put it all together in a package that does what's best for Dunsmuir. I believe that over the last few years, this city has come a long way. 2 years ago, we were in chaos and riots were ready to break out. It was a little bit out of control. Today, things are a lot calmer. We're moving in a positive direction. We have some great stuff happening and some great stuff coming in the very near future. So I hope to be reelected, and thank you.
I apologize. I had meant to mention that Arliss basically went and accepted Arliss, and he was invited to participate as Nick said. He had a previously scheduled hunting trip, so wasn't able to join us today. Next up, Big Dave.
I'm Big Dave, and I want to thank you guys for coming out. I think I'm a good candidate because I have no experience. So I'm going to try harder than the next guy. I came to Dunsmuir a couple years ago and I fell in love with this town. I fell in love with the community. You were my people. I love doing stuff with the kids. We need a lot more stuff with the kids. That's one of my intentions. I didn't memorize mine, so I got to use my card. I want to be part of the comeback. This town's coming back, and I want to be part of that. If I'm elected, I'll work hard. I'll work hard every day, and I'll work hard for the people. We need to fix a couple things in town. We need to fix our sewer and water once and for all. Get that over. The theater's been sitting vacant for 10 years. The last time that theater sold tickets, last year, I spoke with the previous owner. The last time he sold tickets, he sold 60,000 tickets. And he told me when he got done, they had to go eat some. That theater could make revenue for the city, along with the airport. And something else is on my mind and pushed me to do this. What city in America where the Chamber of Commerce doesn't work with the City Council? 2 heads are better than 1. That's my goal. I look forward to working with the Chamber of Commerce. Together, I think we can do really good things. And that's what I want to try. So I promise to work hard and do the best I can do. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Next up, Leslie.
I feel like I'm on a game show. Good evening, my name is Leslie Wild. I've been in Sister County. I came here in 1987 with a youth job program called the California Conservation Corps, CCC. And I stayed in the county. I lived in Mount Shasta and Weed. In 2003, I bought a house in Dunsmuir, and I moved, and I fell in love with Dunsmuir. And I slowly got more and more involved in the community. It's what the point of view where you want to run for council and you want to set down the priorities and lead the town forward. One of the reasons I want to run for the council is I'm unsatisfied with the local law enforcement. There's been a lot of break-ins and robberies, and I think the police department can do a lot better. And so one of the main goals of my campaign that I go door to door is to try and reestablish the Dunsmuir Police Department. That's one of my main goals. I'm disappointed with the current council. I think the slate of 4 candidates that ran 2 years ago has not performed well for the citizens. They performed well for some of the citizens, especially the ones that voted for them, but they haven't performed well for everybody else. And I would like to represent everyone, not just the people that vote for me. And that's my goal if I run the city council, is to bring a breath of fresh air, bring new ideas, and try and work together. And I'd like to see a council that votes sometimes 3-2 or passes each other's motions and has a better decorum. And that's my goal if I run it.
Thanks, Leslie. Last up, Raleigh.
Hello, my name is Raleigh. I've been writing down a few words for the past couple of days about what I'd like to say and what I'd like to convey to you guys about like to give you just a brief rundown of who I am and the things I believe in. Since moving to southern Siskiyou County in the fall of 1998, I have been greatly influenced by the wonderful outdoor activities and the natural beauty of our surroundings. Coming from a small town just west of Weaverville, I was raised with a passion to foster community development. For the same reasons my family established its roots in Willow Creek, I saw the same potential to start my family and lead an economic rebound here in Dunsmuir. I am so thankful and excited to be a part of Dunsmuir and our surrounding area. I believe now is the time to become active in our community. Dunsmuir has seen an economic growth in the past 2 years, and this is only beginning. After graduating from CSU Humboldt with my bachelor's degree in sociology, I decided to dedicate myself to serve as a professional firefighter in Siskiyou County. With the same passion to serve and protect the citizens of rural lands of the United States, I bring the same passion to serve the residents of Dunsmuir. Each day I dedicate my life to the greater good of others, and I believe the same dedication for my local community. When I first moved to Dunsmuir in 2004, a good friend of mine, we would talk about bringing Dunsmuir back to prosperity. The same talks have continued for the past 8 years. Ideas have flowed as business and community relations have formed to help manifest those ideas. As the idea came up to run for City Council, I realized that the time has come, the opportunity is knocking. I believe now is the time to step in and return Dunsmuir to the thriving community it once was. Several thousand cars pass through our city limits today. Our economy is based off of tourism, and my mission is to harness this activity to bring back the vibrancy Dunsmuir once had. With the help of our community, we can create a grassroots approach and implement the ideas that we know will return our town to prominence. The future is exciting, and I encourage everyone to step up and get involved. Let's turn over a new leaf and build on the new vibe that is resonating in our town of Dunsmuir. Believe in Dunsmuir, as I do, and keep our community moving forward in the right direction. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now we'll move on to some questions. Again, candidates will have up to 2 minutes for each of these questions, and we'll start this time with Dave, and we'll just go down the line and back to Nick. Some of you addressed this already, but now's a chance to expand a little bit on, if you're elected to the council, what is your highest priority, and how would you plan to go about implementing that? You don't need to stay seated or probably.
If I'm elected, my main concerns are fixing the water sewer issue once and for all, but addressing the public safety, and find new ways to create revenues for the city, like with the airport and with the theater. These are things that can make the city money, and these are things that I want to look at and find out if they really can make money, and if they can't, put it to work.
My main priorities are, just like Dave said, the water and sewer seems like it's been dragging on. Yesterday we were talking about how it's almost like the war in Iraq. Everybody was angry and excited about it when it first started, and then we had to build up the troops and give it more money. We got some grants, and here it is 2 or 3 years later, and everybody's tired of the issue, and we still have to solve the problem. And it seems like we had a water and sewer task force. We came up with all the ideas, we got grants, we got a forgiveness loan, and it's still not completely clear to me why it hasn't been, why we're still talking about it. So I would bring the troops home, I would get the water and sewer done, and it's unfortunate, it looks like there is going to be a water rate increase, but my issue is if we increase the water rates, we can also increase the water allotment. In the summertime between April and October, we can give citizens twice as much water for the same price for them to water their lawns, gardens, and for kids to play in their kiddie pools out front. That water doesn't go into the sewer system. It doesn't cost the city a penny to give them more water than the summertime. And this would give residents more money in their pockets. Instead of paying $200 a month for a water bill in the summertime, they they wouldn't have to, that extra $100 for every family in Dunsmuir. They would be able to go out for a pizza on Friday night or go out to breakfast on Sundays after church. So my main thing is that I would get this water and sewer issue behind us. It is hard, it's been difficult, but I would like to just get through it and get over it.
The question was as to what are our main priorities and what are the priorities to address if we were to be in City Council. As a new City Council member, I see that it is important to rebuild the damaged relations between our civic and community leaders. It is my intention to conclude our issue with the water rate increase and begin to address our other issues. These issues are public safety and ways to promote business growth and tourism. One of my priorities in regards to safety is the introduction of a community-based volunteer policing program called SCOPE, also known as Concerned Citizens on Patrol. Also a priority would be to bolster our fire protection within our city limits. As far as business growth, we need to promote our town better. For instance, Dunsmuir's cost of living and rental space for business is extremely low. This is a great opportunity for businesses to open in our downtown district. Some of these businesses should be service-based and some of these should be technology-based. As we have seen with Pusher and Firewood, we have provided cheap spaces for these companies, and they have proved that we can have technology-based companies in our town that provide jobs for our community while not relying on our townspeople to create revenue. These businesses are leading the way for our future, and this is why I would like to make it a priority to promote business growth as well as address our public safety needs. Thank you.
Okay. My top priorities for Dunsmuir, if I'm re-elected, first of all, we need to take care of our water system. And we're developing a plan to do that. The sewer system, it's down the drain. We got to take care of it. We got a huge grant coming in that 2 years ago there was no grant money available for fixing the sewer infrastructure. Well, we got a grant to fix it today, and we're not going to borrow $6 million to do it. The water system, it's another animal, and we're going to attack it in the same fashion we did the sewer system, with the help of the government and grant money. And I know people are skeptical about the grants, but they're out there. Currently, I'm involved in what's called the Integrated Regional Water Management Plan, and it covers the whole drainage of the Sacramento and Pitt River. Well, this program, when we come up with our plan, gets its money from Proposition 84. So there will be money available for the city of Dunsmuir, and we can use it in our water system. There is also some other grants that we are currently applying for to fix the water system. And I want to make one thing clear. There is over 17 miles of water pipe in the city of Dunsmuir, and a conservative estimate of $500 a linear foot to replace that. I'm sorry, but we cannot replace it all at once. We're going to have to do our best with what we have and go as we can. The water revenues are building. We're not wasting water revenue money. We're not buying junk trucks with it. We're not hiring expensive city managers with it. So the water revenues and the Water Enterprise Fund are on their way up. So with a modest rate increase, we will succeed.
So thanks. So to build a little bit upon that, a lot of you spoke about water infrastructure and water rate increase. I think a lot of folks in this room that's an important issue for a lot of folks in Dunsmuir. Maybe if you want to take another minute to address that a little bit further, just a minute, and talking about your position on the next phase of the water rate increase. And we'll start with Leslie on this one.
I'm sorry, is the question, can you just say the question again?
Sure. Can you just clarify your position on the proposed water rate increases that are still to be?
If the water rate increases are necessary, then they should occur. But as I stated earlier, also what we could do is give people more water between the months April and October, and overall they wouldn't be paying out as much themselves. We're still going to fix the water, but you'd get more water in the summertime. People would have more money in their pockets if they didn't have to pay on an average of almost $200 for the people with the larger lots that have bigger gardens. So, and the kids that play in the pools. I've been campaigning around Dunsmuir the last few days, and all the stories are the same. That I've had to decide whether I want to water the front lawn or the back lawn, or I let half of my garden go, or I didn't even put in a garden this year because I just can't afford it in the summertime. And that's a shame that if you drive through Dunsmuir to see 9 brown lawns because people can't afford the water. So as I said, the water rates, if they're necessary, if their increases are necessary, then they go up, but we can also have more water.
As we know, Dunsmuir is home to the best water on earth, but we also know that there are problems with our aging water supply. I believe a fair and equitable rate increase is our best option. At the same time, I believe we also need to address the inefficiencies of our water supply to places like the elementary school and Blackberry Hill. These areas are in desperate need of protection from fire. The supply is not adequate to the school, and Blackberry Hill's supply does not exist. The water and septic issue is not just about cost, it's about the basic needs of our residents. If any of these systems were to fail, it would be of amazing cost to our city. We cannot afford a catastrophic failure, and that is why we must act now before a major expense does hit the city. We need to stop thinking about how to patch our water system and start thinking about how to permanently fix our aging infrastructure. Thank you.
The tentative plan that I'm supporting or is in favor of on the water rates is very simple. You have a fixed rate charge that's paid by everyone who is hooked up to Dunsmuir's water system. Given a number, $15 a month, gets you hooked up to Dunsmuir's water system. You have to pay that $15 a month whether you use 1 unit of water or no water. So there's 150 customers that don't pay for any water right now in the months that they're not here. Well, they should have to pay the $15 a month to keep the pipes going to their house. So it would be a fixed cost and a variable rate by usage. And until we can dial in the numbers, I'm not sure how much it would be, but I'm sure it's not going to be that much. Thank you.
Get it fixed. Research it, find the best way to fix the problem, and fix it. The current council, I'm understanding that they ran on a thing that we're not going to raise the rates. They have to raise the rates to get this grant. So we're figure out what it's going to take to get this thing fixed once and for all. I agree that we probably can't fix it all at one time, but we got to start somewhere.
Thanks everybody for your thoughtful comments, and just a remark, I appreciate all of you really sticking to your positions and commentary on positions. So good tone to the debate so far. Let's continue that as we move on to some other topics. Moving on to some other topics. Tell us how you would approach stimulating economic growth in Dunsmuir. We'll start with Kyle for this one. And I think that mic works. You don't want to.
I like this one better.
All right.
My approach to stimulating economic growth would first start with a cooperative effort with the Chamber and actively engage in the revitalization committee. We also need to partner with groups like the Siskiyou Economic Development Council to help direct us in our attempt to rebuild our economy and stimulate growth. One approach that I would take, as I mentioned before, is promoting our town. The ability to run businesses here are cheap. We must create a hype about our town and showcase the recent influx of technology-based businesses. It has been proven by businesses like Snowcrest out of Mount Shasta and our very own Pusher in Firewood that running a technology-based business in Siskiyou County is doable and profitable. We must promote our vacant buildings and our low cost of expenditures. The ability to rent a storefront in a National Historic District in California with easy access to I-5 for less than $600 a month is unheard of. This is something that we need to market and promote as a way of stimulating our economy. Thank you.
The economy in Dunsmuir suffers because of the lack of citizens in our town. We have approximately 1,600 people now. Our population declines by 2%, on average 2% per year. Well, the cost of running government in a small town continues to rise. Our population and revenues are decreasing. What I propose we do to increase tourism in Dunsmuir, which will help increase tax revenue dollars and hopefully get more people to move to Dunsmuir, is we need to complete this trail to Mossbrae Falls. We need to build a whitewater park. We need to promote our big fish program that we started 2 years ago that's been a very big hit with the fishermen and has already proven to bring more people into Dunsmuir. If we have a town of happy, involved citizens that aren't fighting with each other, people are going to be more likely to move to this town. If our water rates are not too high, people are going to be more likely to move into this town. Soon Dunsmuir will have a healthcare clinic, and this is essential to more people moving into this town. Dunsmuir is a great place with a moderate climate, and I think more people from the bigger cities down south are going to choose to come up here and retire soon, I hope. A well-run city government is what we need. We have that right now. We're moving along straight. So I'd like to keep the ball rolling. Thank you.
We definitely need to bring more businesses to town. More businesses equals more jobs. It's a people flow is dollars. We need to encourage business to come to town, maybe with some incentives, offer them incentives. And I've spoken with some of the business owners here. They would like to have less restrictions. We've got to make some concessions for some of these people. We've got to go with the bike store and that because we wouldn't let him put a bike out in front to advertise that he's got a bike store. Neon signs, other kind of signs. We need to make some concessions to let the people feel like they're part of the community, not governed by the community.
Could you leave the mic on, please? Not turn the mic off, Dave. Could you not turn it off?
It's been on. It's been on.
These are all great ideas for increasing tourism. I look at our sister city, Mount Shasta. It brings in people in the winter, in the summer, in the spring, and in the fall. And it finds a way to keep them there overnight. So when they stay overnight, we get the TOT, our top tax money. They eat in our restaurants. They go out to breakfast, and they buy coffee, and then they gas up their cars before they leave town. So I'm always thinking of ways to get people to stay overnight. We have a lot of concerts here in the summertime, but I notice after the concert, people get in their cars and drive home. And I'll drive through town and the motels are all say vacancy. So I think that some of our concerts should be either later in the afternoon or evening concerts or multiple day events where people are encouraged to stay overnight in Dunsmuir. From Sacramento, and a lot of the events, they will advertise them and sell ticket packages where you get a ticket to the event and it includes a motel room and a voucher for a meal at a number of restaurants. So people from the Bay Area might say, hey, for $200 we can go to Railroad Days, stay in a motel, have breakfast, and enjoy a 3-day event. And I think that Railroad Days could use a boost of energy. You know, I went to Weed Corner Valley, and it's going all night. But Railroad Days seems like it ends at about 5 p.m. I noticed a lot of people that live in Mount Shasta and Weed say, we used to come to Dunsmuir, and Railroad Days was like the the biggest event in the county. It was bigger than the fair up in Wairika. So, but I think also there's a sponsored bike race in McLeod, and it's a bike race out of town and in town, and it's got a bicycle parade for kids, and then later a cooking demonstration. Those are great ideas. You know, we could borrow, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, we can borrow those kinds of ideas, but those get young people in here, and after they bike race, they'll want to go back to the motel room, take a shower, and then head out to dinner. So those are the kinds of ideas I have.
Losing track. All right, moving on to public safety. Folks in this town, obviously, bringing folks to town, they need to feel safe. Can you speak a little bit about how you propose to address the public safety concerns of Dunsmuir's citizens?
Yes. I believe that Dunsmuir is a very safe place to live. The Sheriff's Department does a very good job for the amount of money that we pay them. We cannot afford our own police department. It is financially impossible for us to start from the ground up and build our own police department. The sheriff does a good job. We need to work hard with the sheriffs and get them to do what we want. How can we improve public safety in Dunsmuir? The city council can, but you, the people, can. There's neighborhood watch programs that are in effect. We're trying to get more neighborhoods under that program. And the Sheriff's Department is willing to work with neighborhood watch commanders to teach them the do's and don'ts. That's how it's always been in Dunsmuir. We've always looked out for each other's back. Everybody watched out for their fellow Dunsmuirian. And I think that's the way it needs to go. There's more bad guys out there than there is police officers. And it's always going to be that way. We need to protect ourselves by keeping an eye out on our fellow neighbors and reporting what we see when it's out of line. Thank you.
I disagree. I don't think vigilante ways to go. We spend over $1,000 a day for the sheriffs, and they're not here all the time. There was a study done in 2002 about police, sending a police in the city. I'd like to see that study. I'd like to look into it. I'm under the impression that we're going to save about $100,000 a year, and that money will go a lot of other places we need. This needs to be researched. If we did start our own police force, and again, we're creating jobs. It'd be nice to have a police officer walking the streets with us, shaking hands, knowing he's there. His kids are going to our schools. He's shopping in the grocery store with us. For $100,000, if this job consists of saving this city money, these are the things that I would be looking into. Because I got ripped off the other day. The police wanted me to go wear a wire, help them do their job. The sheriffs did. We've got to do something because it's just not right, and that's what we're going to do.
This is my issue. I've been talking about reestablishing the Dunsmuir Police Department for several years, and I always hear the same thing over and over again, that we can't afford it, we're too small of a city. Well, guess what? Etna has a population of 750 people that have their own police department. Tule Lake, 1,000 people that have their own police department. Weed, 2,900, they have their own police department. Mount Shasta, Wairika, everybody does. But for some reason, Dunsmuir's got to spend I think it's over $450,000 now that we pay our sheriff's contract. And I can tell you, people do not think that they're doing a good job in Dunsmuir. They rarely leave their substation. I never see them walking the beat. And I went to a music concert up in Weed, and there was the Weed Police Department in polo shirts. They sure have their gun belts on, but they're walking amongst the people, smiling and talking to everybody. So I've talked to Ed Valenzuela about this, our supervisor, and I said, what can we do? And he said that we could possibly contract with Mount Shasta and share resources with them. They have their own dispatch crew, and they have extra squad cars. We could begin with that, and then form a committee of maybe retired cops or former police, and figure out how to reestablish Dunsmuir's police department. A town has a personality when they have their own police department. Right now, what we have is a sheriff's department that dresses up like army men with fatigues and huge guns and goes to people's homes doing compliance checks for medical marijuana. And I just don't think that that's the proper resources. Everybody on my street, every car on my street was broken into. Our homes were burglarized, and we called the police, and sometimes the response time is 45 minutes, even though there's 3 squad cars in town. I went to Manfredi's the other night for ice cream at 8 o'clock at night, and there's all 3 sheriff's squad cars all taking a break at the same time. And I said, "You fellas all taking a break at the same time?" And they said, "You bet we are." And they had just come on shift, by the way. I'm out of time.
There's certainly not a lack of passion on this issue. Two of the main concerns I have for the city is our policing and our fire protection. Where I grew up, we had a program called SCOPE, also known as the Concerned Citizens on Patrol. This is a volunteer program in conjunction with the County Sheriff Department that would provide a patrol vehicle for our citizens. The citizens would volunteer their time to do patrols in our neighborhoods, in turn having more eyes out there for us all. These volunteers would report mischievous behavior to our authorities. This gives the citizens of Dunsmuir more people on the streets and gives us an opportunity to have an impact through our own policing. The other concern I have that already has been addressed within our community is the fire safe fuel breaks. I am in complete support of this program, and I look forward to expanding and funding this program as much as possible. As we have seen this year with the Bagley fire, which was a couple of bridges to the east of here, it is imperative to protect our town from fire. I believe this is one way that we can give ourselves a protection barrier against this threat. I believe with the Fire Safe Fuel Break program and the introduction of the community-based SCOPE program that these are ways that we can address our public safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is about our library. As most of you know, in June there was a measure on the ballot to add a 25% parcel tax to support the library. It did not pass by the required 2/3 vote. What is your position on the future of the Dunsmuir Library?
I think we need to modernize the Dunsmuir Library. Computers, Kindles, newspapers, Skype, copy services, maybe education grants. We need to find a way to make the library pay for itself, to be self-sufficient. Maybe the city could hold a fundraiser once a year. It doesn't cost much to keep that library open. And to lose it would be devastating.
I agree with Big Dave, it does need to be modernized. We had a chamber mixer at the library the other day, and it had some beer and wine. I thought that might be a great way to make people go to the library more often. But I was astounded how I used to go to the library a lot when I was a kid. My mom, every Saturday, would go check out books. But that was the 70s. And here I'm standing in a library, and it looked like it was the 70s. And so I do agree that we need to modernize libraries. And I think the county librarian suggested that we get rid of books, all the books that haven't been checked out in 5 years. And that would open up a little bit more space. Because a library is a gathering place for computer access, literacy training, and it's a safe haven for school kids. And I think that Dunsmuir should make it a priority, not just a budget leftover. And they should have more magazines, more newspapers, and Kindles and Nooks for people to download books, and copiers, fax services, and maybe even sort of some coffee or tea or snacks that would generate some revenue. And somebody told me that as the Board of Supervisors were talking about the county library system, and all the departments fight for money, but that John Lopey, the sheriff, was there, and he said that, what are you going to do if a crime was committed? Call a librarian, and as I said earlier, that might be, they might have a faster response time.
The library. I believe that the library is an integral and important part of any community. As I do recall, there was a vote and needed 2/3 to be passed, and it was not passed. But again, I do not believe that we need to burden our townspeople with a tax to support the library. I believe through tourism, we can build a tax base and allocate a steady budget towards the library for renovations and bringing in new books and whatnot, Kindles, everything. Also by, I believe through, let's see here. If we we can allocate a steady budget to the library. By including tech-based businesses to come into our region here, we can also draw higher revenue that will again bring money for the library to be able to operate. Along with the needs of the library and many of our town's entities, it might be a good idea to pursue the feasibility of a full-time grant writer or a coordinator to help us find funds to support these projects and issues that our town has. So that might be one way that we could address these fledgling entities that we have within our community. Thank you.
The library. I love the library. I don't go to it very often, but I am a big supporter of the library. You know, the library is like the other problem, the water pipes. There's not enough people in Dunsmuir to support everything. The police department, the water pipes, the sewer pipes, the library, the list goes on. How can we support the library? We can get more people who move to Dunsmuir. We have a bigger town, bigger revenues, more money for the library. I would like to congratulate the Friends of the Library who have done a tremendous job over the last 20 plus years in keeping our library open. That is a community volunteer organization that has done an outstanding job raising revenues for the library. That's what we need. We need the people of Dunsmuir to get involved and step up. If they want the library, then they need to contribute money to the library. I think the library just sent out a letter saying the tax measure failed, but if you're in support of the library, please send us $25 a year to help fund the library. Well, send them $50, because if you're one that supports it, you need to help the guy out there that can't afford the $25 to support it. That's catching your neighbors back and building a community together. Thank you.
All right, we've got a whole bunch of questions that have come in from folks here tonight, so we're going to move on to some of those. I can ask about the airport. We'll get to that, actually. We do have a question here about the airport, so we'll cover that as well. But before we get to that, Dave, another question I think is close to your heart. What plans do you have to provide opportunities for young people in Dunsmuir? I think we are starting with Leslie.
Well, I sure loved it with Dave's Derby. That was fun. We should have more community events that are about children. We have things like rigatoni dinners and a lot of things for adults, but I don't see the kids getting involved. We should have more like holiday type of parades that involve the kids and have the kids have them do the floats. If we, I've got some of the programs we talked about at the library. I have kids reading programs at the local libraries or peer tutoring programs. We used to have a family resource center that was called the Kids Factory, and it had game night and things like that. Okay. Okay, so we still have the Kids Factory, but last time I checked the agenda, it had stuff like knitting on there. But those are the kinds of things that kids like to do. But as I campaign around Dunsmuir, the younger families say that they wish that there was like a resource center or a teen center, or a youth center, where kids would go after school and they would learn how to, they would just have somewhere to go after school instead of hanging out on the street smoking cigarettes. So I can tell you that the young families right now are more focused on having a community resource center that's kids focused or teen focused, because that's where they start to get into trouble. It's not the 6 and 8-year-olds, it's the 14-year-olds. Because I just see kids just riding around town, walking around town, even during the school days. I'm always wondering why these kids aren't in school. So there you go.
the Resource Center and the library. One thought that I had right here as this came along is, and please help me out if you guys have any great ideas, but is there any way that we could somehow offset costs of both the Resource Center and the library by bringing them together, maybe putting them under one roof and using the allotted monies for the sustainability of both programs? I totally agree with a lot of these great things that Dave has done. I thank you for bringing that. I think it's wonderful. I think that's just one step in the right direction. Another thing that I see, I don't know if maybe you guys have walked the Little League baseball field lately, but it needs a little bit of work. It looks like they started work there and haven't really finished cleaning up. And I completely understand that we do not have a Little League program right now. But of course, that is one thing that is going to come back as soon as people like myself start having children and we do start bringing more people back into our community. And in the meantime, I really do think that we should, keep that as an asset for our community, keep it going. We need to put a little bit of effort into keeping it for the next generation. Because I'm looking forward to raising kids here, and I'm really, really excited about it. And I just hope that we do keep all these programs and these Little League fields and these assets that we do have for these children. We need to keep them together and keep forward thinking about how we can provide. Thank you.
Activities for the children. Big Dave's soapbox journey. Excellent. There's an example. That's an example of what one community volunteer can do in this town. It's amazing. He almost did that single-handedly. He raised the money, he built the go-karts, or whatever they're called. Gravity cars, and put that event together. Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but Activities for the Children, that's a community volunteer program. That has to come from the community. The citizens of Dunsmuir have to step up and provide activities for the children. Whether it's Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, the swimming pool is a great program. They have the pool bucks for kids, so that it makes it more affordable for kids to go to the swimming pool. There's all kinds of programs. There's Sister 1 for 1, which teaches children how to garden and prepare vegetables and then donate them to other people. We live in an outdoor wonderland, and it's amazing that we don't have a Boy Scout or Cub Scout program taking these kids out hiking and fishing. It's community involvement. It's up to volunteers. This is not a government-run program. I mean, we can help with the swimming pool and the library, but we have the elementary school and the high school, some of the best education systems for a small town right here in Dunsmuir, but I think we lack parental support. And I see more support at Castle Rock School than I do at Dunsmuir Elementary School. Sorry to say, but it seems to be a much more participation down there. Thank you.
When I built the soapbox derby cars, I built it for, the idea was most of these kids, they don't have the money for a car. Their parents don't know how, their parent or parents don't know how to hammer a nail or screw a screw. So I kind of did that in a way just so I could get all the kids out there. And I got hooked. Look, I'm more soapbox derby racers. We need to have more events like that. Again, I want to fall back to the theater. If we get the theater open, we can do wonders with these kids. Movie making, movie editing. The list goes on, and there's people out there dying to help me do it. The kids are our future. They're, to me, are the biggest part of the community. You know, I want them to grow up in loving homes, in a nice environment, you know, Mayberry. You know, but he's right. It's on us. The people got to come out. They really got to step up and help their kids, you know. I'm working with David Redmond, who I believe tonight just became a Rotarian, is that how you say that? Congratulations, by the way. We started Boy Scouts. We're trying to get enough kids to where we can have our own pack. But then again, we're starting things. We need to do more of them and stay on it. You know? Thank you.
Okay, now back to the airport. Just briefly, if you can address what your proposed approach will be to the future of the Dunsmuir Airport. Start with Kyle at the end, please.
Okay. I think we need to look at the airport as an opportunity. It is a vast piece of land with great potential. It does not seem feasible to get rid of it and pay back the grants that were allotted to it. We need to brainstorm and come up with ways that we can provide revenue for our city using the airport. Some of the ideas that might come to mind are the possibilities of a solar farm or a wind farm. Maybe we can turn it into partially a satellite campus for COS that they pay rent on, which we will provide a space for the police for their new police academy. We have a lot of blacktop and a shooting range up there that could be used for training purposes. Maybe we start a South County Emergency Services Training Center and use that large, vast land as part of it. These are just a few of the ideas for the airport, and at any rate, we need to embrace what we have and develop ways that we can turn it into a money-making area for the well-being of our city. Thank you.
The airport. 2 years ago, I was dead set that we just need to shut that thing down and cut our losses and run away from it. But as I got on the city council and found out all the money that we've spent and all the free grant money that we've got for that airport, whether it was used at the airport or not is history now. But we cannot close the airport. We cannot turn it into anything but an airport. That's the rules. If we change it from an airport to a solar panel farm, the county can take ownership of it and we have all the grant money back. Sure, you can't get blood from a turnip, so the state will be out the grant money. I understand that. We've made some good progress with the airport in the last couple of years. We've done all the renovations that needed to be done, so we're not going to get fined for not having the lights that are supposed to be up there. My position on the airport has been to turn it over to the pilots. Let the pilots form a non-profit organization and they can run the airport. Dunsmuir's done its time running that airport and it's somebody else's turn to take it over. If we could use that land for whatever we wanted, I'm all for it. It's a great piece of real estate. I predict a subdivision going in up there. But unfortunately, that's not the case right now. I am open to ideas on how we can generate revenues from that airport. And I would like to say right now, the airport is in the black, and it is contributing back to the general fund money which it had to borrow years past. So the airport really isn't costing us anything, nor is it doing much for us. If there's a way to get it to do something for us, I'm right behind it. Thank you.
The airport's at 3,140 feet, and pilots love it. They come here, they land, they get fuel, they take right back off, and they're basically on their freeway.
When we don't have no gas anymore, we used to sell gas, and now we don't. So the pilots, they're upset. They have to drop into ready, get gas, and then use a lot of fuel to get back up to that 3,140 feet. There's a lot of federal money out there right now for private aviations. I went out there the other day. I seen a camera. I don't know what that camera cost. It cost more than my truck. And it ain't even turned on. I'm understanding that they got a security system that, again, is not turned on. Oh, and I am curious, who took out all the runway lights? There's no runway lights on the runway for night landings. We had 200 helicopters out there, and nobody out there counted. Okay, $8 landed, $8 takeoff. $8 landed, $8 takeoff. We lost a lot of FEMA money. That was money that could have gone to our infrastructure. All over the county, you know, all over the country, small communities are seeing the advantage of having a general aviation airport. I believe that this airport is important to our economic recovery.
Dave's pretty passionate about the airport. And I agree with Dave. We need to keep the airport, and we need to find ways for it to not just be revenue neutral and enjoy being in the black, but really bring in some money for us. So some of the fun ideas we've talked about is advertising for anglers to fly their planes up here. We pick them up at the airport, and then they can fish for a day in Dunsmuir. I don't know if they used to have a rental car agency out there, but that would be a great place for South County to have a rental car agency. I think right now the only place you can rent a car is over Marika. So that would be one more reason for people to fly here, was that they could then jump in a car, hang out in Dunsmuir, Mount Shasta, and use the recreation. They could ski for a day, fly in the wintertime, and then we could shuttle them, or they could rent a car and they could go skiing. People might come from all over California that way. But Dave made a great point about fires, is that there's so much money in firefighting, and that if we could use that as a staging area for fuel tenders and helicopters and all the surveillance small aircraft that they use for fires, that can every summer, that's enough we can generate enough to rebuild our water sewer in one good fire season. So I'm all for saving the airport and putting our heads together and never giving up on it.
Great, thank you. Thanks a lot for making sure we talk about the airport and for all your really thoughtful answers. Some more questions from the audience. We've heard a lot tonight about the role of the council, the role of the community members. I'd love to hear a little bit more from each candidate, starting with Nick over here, about what you see, each of you see as the primary role of the city council.
I think the primary role of the city council is to manage the city's resources, including its money, its assets, and its people. We have a great staff at City Hall. We have a tremendous crew that works on our streets and roads and our sewer pond. That's the city's main job, is to manage a budget, take care of the city's infrastructure, protect the citizens, and not spend more than we get every year. Thank you.
Well, as a city, you oversee the entities of the town, the sewer, the water, the trash, and city employees, which, by the way, I think do an outstanding job too. They're quite awesome. As a city councilman, you make sure the money gets put in the right places for the right things at the right times. That's what I want to try to do.
Is the question, what is the role of a city council member or a city?
What do you see as the role of the city council?
Of the city council, okay. Well, the city council is the voice of the people. And city council members represent people that voted for them and people that didn't vote for them and people that don't vote at all, which is about half this city. They're there to hear your concerns, and you're sometimes there to give them some hard truths, whether it's about water sewer rate increases or just applying the law as ordinances. City council members are there to, if somebody has an idea for derby cars, they find out how to make that happen. If somebody has an idea about reestablishing the Dunsmuir Police Department, you listen to those people and you don't just brush them off and say it's impossible. I think it's actually disrespectful for a whole city to want something and a small group of unpaid council members to say, no, we can't do that. I have a can-do spirit. And as a council member, I would try and do the things that people want. And I would also provide some hard truths. But I think you're there to counsel. That's the word. You're a council. And you're there as a member of the community, but you're also there to lead the community. And you're there to inspire. You're there to console. And the city council leads the city we see great changes in cities sometimes, and it's because somebody new came onto the council and said, let's do this, or let's stop doing this. So that's the role of council in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of things. We are supposed to be the voice of the people, but in order to be the voice, we first have to have our ears open. We need to listen to our community members. We need to help them engage and move through with new ideas that they bring. We need to use what we can find ways to bring in, like David did, you know, getting the soapbox derby thing going. We need to be those ears for people, and it's our job to get out there and make those things happen. When people have ideas about maybe how to bring new revenues into Dunsmuir, we need to absolutely listen. Those are the things that are very, very important to us. We all know that our economy needs to be bolstered. We know that there's things that need to be addressed. And we're here for you. I think that's absolutely the most important thing, on top of managing our community assets and having fiscal responsibility. We are more of the ears of the people, for the people, as opposed to just a voice. So it starts with the open mind, and open mind to listen to new ideas and to help push those new ideas forward. Thank you.
We had a lot of questions on this issue. I don't want to get too repetitive, but if you've got a little bit more to say about, maybe take a minute to talk about what you personally will do if elected to the council or re-elected to the council to ensure that city government is open to citizen participation. And starting with Dave.
Ask that again.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's right. The question is, as council member, what will you do to ensure city government is open to citizen participation?
What would I do to ensure it? Well, one thing is whenever there's a committee formed, there always seems to be council members. I think that there should be maybe one council member, and the committee should be the citizens of the town. At least that way you really got their voice. To ensure, I'm not sure. You know, normally I'm supposed to say I'll look into that, but oh yeah, I was looking into that. But one of my ideas is in the city council meetings at the end, let's say the last 15 minutes of the city council meeting, we hit a button, Skype comes on. There's a lot of handicapped people or people that are unable to come to the meetings, but they could participate, whether Skype or some type of video, calling in, you know, and spend 15 minutes at each meeting asking or answering questions from the community.
Dave and I met last night, and we were like little kids coming up with all these great ideas. We were so excited, and one of his great ideas, and I'm going to steal it, is that people should be able to call in or Skype in to council meetings. It's not clear to me if the meetings are still televised. It seems like there's been a lack of effort to make sure that people can watch the council meetings. I'd like to put them on the internet so that if somebody could come home from work and go online and watch the council meeting that they missed. You know, maybe they work out of town. So to make it more open, I would allow people to call in and put the council meetings online and record them and try and get them on MCTV. But a lot of people feel like they don't know what's going on at the council meeting and they can't get to the meetings. They're moved around the times. I was looking through all the agendas today, and there was council meetings in the mornings, there were some in the afternoons, and there were some in the evenings. So people don't really understand when they can attend a meeting. Maybe even have one on a weekend or a Saturday. I mean, as council members, we're there for them. So when we do the city business, we should do it so that people can participate, and we should encourage participation. A lot of people feel like they get shut out of meetings. They have to stand at a podium. I think a new rule was passed, they have to give their name and their address, and people feel like the city is gathering information and they're going to be targeted. So open participation means people can say what they want, and like Dave said, call in or Skype in, and 30 seconds. And I like the call in would be like Larry King, we've got a caller on the line. And it would be more interactive. I mean, it's a way to move into the future. Council meetings, the old-fashioned way, isn't always the best way. I think we could move into the future with Skype and the internet.
I agree. A lot of these might be good ideas in order for ways to broaden our horizons and bring more people into the participation of our local governments. But first, the thought I kind of had is that I didn't really. It baffles me a little bit that the community itself feels like it's not being a participant in this city government in the first place. That's what we're here for. We're here to be representatives of the people. So the idea and the notion that the city members are not able to somehow voice their opinions or not being a part of council meetings is kind of new to me. I mean, that's what the idea of councilship is about. Like I said just a minute ago, we are not only the voice of the people, but we open our ears first and listen and project the ideas that come from our townspeople. That's what we're about. So this idea of how we can open our participation to the community members, great ideas, Skyping and all that other stuff. I think that's great. But there might be a fundamental problem then with our community, or excuse me, our council. If the community feels that it's not able to participate in the city council, so that might be the issue that needs to be addressed in the first place. Thank you.
Here I go again. Open to public participation. All the meetings are open to public participation. And this is a great turnout tonight for this kind of forum. And this is probably 40% more than we get at any city council meeting. How can the city council encourage public participation? I'm definitely open to ideas on that. Before I really got involved in city government, I voted for somebody to do that job for me because I didn't have time. So I think that might be the mindset of a lot of people in the city of Dunsmuir is they elect a council. The council takes care of the day-to-day business of running the city for them so they can live their lives. Is that correct? Maybe not. But our meetings are open to the public by law. We post our agenda on time by law. I agree that they should be televised. We've had technical difficulties with the equipment. It upsets me too. I go into City Hall and want a recording of last night's meeting, and I can't get one because the machine didn't work. Question, how much money do we spend on city council meeting to televise it? Is that what we want to spend our money on? Or do we want to keep the library open? Or do we want to fix the water pipes? These are the decisions that the city council is faced with. And I personally am always open to suggestions of how we can allocate our resources. I encourage public participation, and I hope to see more people at the meetings. It's kind of sad when you go in there and there's 10 or 15 people. Thank you.
Okay, a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap up with some closing statements. On the topic again of public safety, we had a specific question about what your plans would be for dealing with the meth problem in town. I'm not sure. Well, I'll just leave it at that and give you about a minute, or we'll go 2 minutes for that if needed. So, it's a big problem in town. So, the meth problem, not the math problem. The meth problem in town.
Both those problems are interrelated.
Are we on mute?
I think so, yes. The meth problem in Dunsmuir, it's not just Dunsmuir, it's Wairika, Mount Shasta, Weed, McLeod. And how are we going to attack that? Again, it's the parents, it's the education system, it's the Sheriff's Department running the DARE program, it's community neighborhood watch, where we watch the activities from our own house and phone into the sheriffs when we see drug dealing going on at 2 in the morning. Youth activities that we talked about earlier, if we can give the youth of Dunsmuir fun, exciting outdoor activities, they'll be less likely to get hooked on meth. Meth is a terrible drug, and it only takes one time. You use it one time, and you could be hooked. And it is harder than heck to kick the meth habit. I would work with the Sheriff's Department. Logie has gotten extra grant money for the DARE program. I think we need to start at the level of the children and the parents and work our way back up. There's the people that are using it right now, the only thing we can do for them is arrest them and put them in jail or get them into a rehab or help them out that way. The solution to the meth problem is stopping it before it starts, and that's with our youth. Thank you.
I don't like meth, and I don't like the people that use meth, because the people that use meth are usually the people that are doing the crimes to support their meth habit. The law enforcement here, would rather write you a ticket for your headlight out or tell you to get your car off the street because your license plates aren't on it, think you park in your backyard, rather than you guys over there cooking. They don't want to deal with it. There needs to be a change. Personally, I just tell them that you got to go. You know, we don't need this in our town. If everybody just pull their covers, hey, are you a tweaker? Are you a tweaker? You know, you got to go. But that is an image that's. The mayor was quoted saying something about our drug is a drug town. That's the drug that's making everything not right. Most of the problems on the streets, you know, are coming from the people that are doing the crystal meth. Dunsmuir is no place for it.
Seems like every town in Siskiyou County has a meth problem, and it's unfortunate Dunsmuir is no different. But what also is unfortunate that more time and resources have been devoted with this current council to eradicating medical marijuana cultivation. And I went through every agenda today, and all I could find was medical marijuana on about 2/3 of the agendas, and I never saw meth on there. And the problem is meth. I have people that live on my street with little black bean teeth that are missing, and they have burglarized homes on both sides of them. And the police seem to know who it is, but there's no police action. And to me, everything goes back to law enforcement, their presence. They don't drive around and prevent crime. Seeing an officer driving down the street is enough to make someone not decide, I'm not going to burglarize that street. The cops are driving up and down at least once or twice every hour. I think that more proactive police patrols would help the meth-related burglaries and break-ins. And then education. You sure educate your kids about meth. But right now, you talk to kids and it's their parents that's on meth. And they see the dangers of it. And I see that meth is getting worse and worse, and I don't know that it's just in Dunsmuir. But the things that law enforcement should be focusing on is meth and the prescription drugs that they trade back and forth between meth and so to me it's law enforcement. It goes back to law enforcement and a stronger presence, and that would certainly help.
I agree with Leslie. It's not just a problem that plagues our town. It's a county-wide, it's a statewide, it's a countrywide problem. As far as I've heard stories, Dunsmuir used to be incredibly a lot worse off than it is right now. With the whole drug town rep that it gets. I can only assume that it is a lot better than it was before. In my eyes, what I've seen in town, I think Dunsmuir's looking pretty good. These little pockets of meth users are in every single town, and yeah, we got to figure out ways that we can adjust our tactics and protect our kids and our other families from these types of users and people. I just think that you got to keep your kids in school, get them out absolutely engrossed in all different types of after-school programs. Get your kids in sports, get your kids playing instruments, or there's a lot of other ways that we can keep our kids from going in that direction. You just gotta keep the activities up. You gotta keep the ideas rolling for these kids. Soapbox derbies again. There's a lot of things that we have already in place. There's a lot more that we can do. The community watch program, like you said. So for me, the DARE program, there's another one. I just think that you just need to be involved in the community, keep kids in school, have programs for possibly adults that rehabs or something like that. There's a lot of things that we can do. Past that, I love this community and I just see it growing. And I'm beyond this whole drug count idea. I think we're way past that, and we're building on something bigger, broader than this small issue right here.
Couple last questions. These are both with regard to tourism, recreation, and its role in growing the town's economy. What can the city do to get the California Theater open by the end of 2013? This is a question from the audience. Now, let's start with Dave.
Bob, I'm working with Mark Perez, and he's trying to obtain a grant. Chris, the guy that works for him, who's been doing a lot of work on the theater, he's got his hands full. Mark needs to get some more help. I got a tour of the theater the other day. It needs some work, but from what it was to what it is, I think it can happen. I really think it can happen. And if that theater's open, it's going to alleviate a lot of things in this town. The kids are going to have some place to go. It's not just a movie theater. They want to have other things in there strictly for the kids. I have that vision of an Xbox soapbox derby race split screen for $20,000. But still, there's some good things that can happen with that theater. It looks like it could happen. It just needs some a little push to the legend and maybe some assistance. I'm going to go down there and help sling some paint, build some frames, whatever we got to do. But that theater, the theater in a community next to the churches is the main thing. It's where all denominations can go and watch a movie, a play, a concert, and other events. Especially if we get it open and we're not showing movies all the time, we can use the events for the kids. Have that theater for the kids, please.
I took a tour of the theater with Dave the other day, and I was astounded that it is like stepping back into history. As soon as you walk into the lobby, and it can be the centerpiece of our town. It is really amazing. I'd forgotten how cool that theater is. How do we get it going by 2013? Well, it's a privately owned piece of property. We have to have the owner, Mark Juarez, buy in. And I saw that Mark Juarez had written a kind of a self-promotional piece in the Reading paper last week, and he was saying how much he enjoyed the current council compared to the previous council. But it was the previous council, and it was the hard work of Helen Cartwright and Peter Arth and Barton Cross on the Planning Commission that pushed Mark Juarez to fix that marquee. And if it weren't for them pushing him and writing letters and court action, I don't know that we'd even have a marquee out front. But we have to have Mark Juarez buy in. We have to have him. We have to see how dedicated he is, because if he's not dedicated, then it's just we'll never get it open. And it's as much as we feel like it's ours, it's a privately owned building, and I don't think it's grants is going to solve this, but we need to investigate how dedicated Mark Juarez is into fixing our theater. And if he's not, we need to find another solution.
Absolutely. This is not a city issue. This is a private business owner's problem. If we want to get it open, we need to pressure him, Mark Juarez, on getting it open. In my opinion, he shouldn't be going and buying other buildings in town and thinking of all these great ideas of what he can do. He needs to focus on one issue and get it done first 100% before he moves on to the next. So in that case, I believe that the only way that we can change this guy's mind is we need to get him somehow to focus what he's doing and pressure him to get the thing open. We are all going to benefit from it, but I don't know if he's really buying into this community, and I don't know what he's really about. As far as I've seen, we had to have pressure from our community just to get the marquee done. So I do not have faith in a guy from the get-go. If he really is invested in our community, it would have been open already. So whether it be pressure from us as people, or somehow getting him a focus group to get the thing done, I'm all about getting it open. I remember coming here in 1998, going to COS, and I was probably one of the last people to actually go in and watch a movie in that theater, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. I had a good time. So if we can get back to that, I'm all about it. I've seen it. I've been there. It's a beautiful building. I hope that we can somehow bring it back into to be a part of our community. But somehow we got to pressure this guy and get it done if that's what we want. Thank you.
The theater by 2013. Anyone up for an Indian gaming casino right in the center of Dunsmuir? That could happen. People don't go to the movies anymore. Netflix, live internet streaming videos. The day of going to the theater to watch a movie is about over. Those are the old days. The Broadway Theater in Wairika. Wairika's a much bigger town with many more people. Closed. Why? He can't afford to go digital with his equipment because he doesn't sell enough tickets to the movies. The economy for a movie theater is not going to happen in Dunsmuir. I'm sorry. What can be done with the theater? Sure, turn it into a performing arts center. Get some grants. Get some plays going on. Okay, that's good. Who's going to run all that? And where are we going to be able to get that grant money? I'm happy that we have the new marquee. It's beautiful. But we, the citizens of Dunsmuir, paid $40,000 in legal fees to get Juarez to put that up. Instead of pressuring Mr. Juarez, I would like to work with him. And if I was on that previous council that thought the marquee was the key to Dunsmuir's future success, I would have said, let's put the marquee up out of our own money for 10 grand and save the other 30 in legal fees. We need to work with business owners. We're not here to push business owners around and make them do what we want. Business owners are here to make money. We're here to facilitate that, not direct them. This is not Russia. Thank you.
So last question, and then we'll go to closing statements. A little bit more about Dunsmuir's infrastructure and the infrastructure supporting tourism here. So we're now an official railroad town, but a lot of the points of interest around town are in disrepair. How can we maintain some of our assets, such as Hedge Creek Falls, Central Off-Ramp, the locomotive near Mickey's Burgers, to continue to support the idea of Dunsmuir as a rail town? Start with Leslie.
I'm sorry, I don't really understand your question. It was a little bit all over the place for me.
I can only interpret what I'm reading here, but I think the question is, what can the city do to invest in the infrastructure around tourism, particularly promoting Dunsmuir as a railroad town, given that a lot of that infrastructure is in somewhat of a state of disrepair?
I think a city can afford lot of things, and they have to make choices. Are the choices going to be an extra $100,000 to the sheriff's department this year, or a city manager salary of $100,000? So we have to make choices about how we're going to spend our money. And it sounds like some people's interest is that we spend some of our money on fixing up the resources like that old rail car by Making Better Burgers, and making sure people know that Dunsmuir is a railroad town. I think they've already done a great job with the Railroad Museum. I have a business on Sacramento Avenue, and people stop there all the time and ask questions. How do I get to this railroad museum? And I'll look at their license plates and their cars, and it's from states from all over. It's not just Oregon. It'll be Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Missouri. So I think we're already heading in the right direction. But if we have resources, we allocate resources all the time. And if it's important to upkeep trains and things like that, then that's what we'll dedicate resources to. But I can't speak to the complete budget because I'm not on the council. I don't see where all the money is, nor do I necessarily believe everything I'm told. But I think it's about dedicating resources and making Dunsmuir a railroad town. But it's not only a railroad town. We have to. I think that there's a straddle. There's people that straddle our past and they give up on the future. That it isn't always railroads. We have to also be heading into the future. So I'd like to see Amtrak come here more often than 1 o'clock in the morning. So if you're crazy about trains, let's bring trains in here during the daylight hours and let people see our railroad on Mount Shasta.
As I said before, we have just so much in our own general fund, and there's all these different entities and all these different programs that need funding. I would love to see our railroad cars get a new paint job right there next to me. There's a lot of those great projects. I completely support that 100%. I think that we just need to prioritize what we want. Do we want new water pipes, or do we want paint jobs? It's really hard to juggle. I would totally agree, but I just believe that with a budget that we have and how much effort that is going on into keeping that budget from going under, we just have to pick and choose our battles. And I would agree with the person that wrote the question. I think it's a great idea to get some of these things taken care of, but it's up to the people to prioritize how we use our monies. And yeah, I think that's a great question. We want water pipes, or do we want to, paint our railroad cars? So among so many other things, like I said, the Little League field needs help, and many things like that. So it's up to us. What's the most important thing for us? Thank you.
Well, I'll echo the sentiments of everyone here. It's about juggling resources and which resource is the most important. But as I'm sitting here thinking about it, I think the kids in the high school should get out and paint those things for us. And the city could probably come up with the money for the paint. We could get our youth off the street with something to do. It could restore our railroad artifacts throughout town. All right, there's going to be some problems with that, but we'll work on them. It's all about juggling your resources and taking care of the highest priority things first. Sure, I look at those railroad fixtures and wish we could get them all nice and bright and shiny, but I understand the bigger problem that we have is leaky water pipes and other things that really need to be taken care of first. Cracked streets, broken sidewalks. The list is endless, and the amount of money we have is kind of small. So again, if we could get another 1,000 people to move to Dunsmuir, a lot of these things wouldn't be problems anymore. Thank you.
It's like everybody says, you got to put the money where it's got to go, what the priorities are. But I'm just wondering, sitting here thinking, do we have a committee to restore these trains? If not, maybe we could form a committee. I'm sure that paint a couple trains, I probably got that paint in my backyard, and I know I'll give a hand on it. I mean, we can do that ourselves. These are things, because it is a train town, we do need to go in the future. But as a community, we can get together somehow, in some form or fashion, and paint these trains up ourselves and make them pretty without, you know, putting a burden on the city's money.
All right. A lot of topics that we covered today. We covered a lot of ground. I really appreciate the candidates providing all their thoughtful answers. We're going to give each of you guys 90 seconds for closing statements to finish up here. And then after that, there's time to mingle with the candidates, 15, 20 minutes if folks want to stick around. Just kind of, anything you want to follow up about. So really appreciate everybody sticking around and spending time here. We'll start our closing statements at the other end of the table with Kyle, and we'll work this way just to switch things up a little bit.
My closing statements. I just want you guys to know that I'm so excited to be here. I think that this is a great town. I chose to live here. I think that we have wonderful opportunities and a beautiful place to live with many things that we can do with our area. Thank you guys for giving me an opportunity to be here, to attempt to be a part of this community. I look forward to being here for a long time. I absolutely love what Dunsmuir has to offer. I think it's the cutest little town that ever did live in California. And I'm just really excited and stoked to be a part of your community and now my community as well. And I think the future is bright. And like I said right to begin with, I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. And we all as people will just keep moving forward with our wonderful ideas, with our trials and tribulations of how to get things done. That's just all a part of local government. That's all a part of what every single city does anyway. And I'm just thankful to be here and be a part of it. So thank you guys.
Yeah, again, thanks for everybody coming out tonight. I see a lot of familiar faces, but I see some new faces too, so that's great. So I teamed up with Big Dave, and we sat down last night, went over some issues, and we were like little kids at Christmas morning. There's a lot of things that we'd like to do with Dunsmuir, but we need to get on the council to do them. Right now, I think the current council is deadlocked at 4 votes for every issue. I personally believe that they have decided how they're going to vote before they go to the council meeting, and a lot of people tell me that that's what it appears to them too. So I want to put some fresh ideas and some fresh air onto the council. I'm there to listen to people. I'm there to work with people that I don't necessarily agree with, but we need to solve problems, and you can't solve problems if you've already made up your mind that what their problem is not your issue. So what I'd like to do is I talked about reestablish the Dunsmuir Police Department. Is it pie in the sky? Maybe, but I'm going to at least look into it and try. And I'm not going to say a city of 1,700 people can't have their own police force, because right now the response time for many of these calls, I talked to a woman yesterday that reported gunshots behind her house, and she said when they called the police, they argued with her, and they never came, and they never even made a report of it. Those are things that I would like to change. I'd like to have safer streets for Dunsmuir. I'd like to get this water sewer issue behind us. We'd love to have a theater. We'd love to have derby car races. And I promise that if I'm elected, or Dave and I are elected, that we will work with the council and try and get new issues and new ideas moved forward.
I don't have all the fancy words, and I'm not as educated as most people sitting at this table. But I do know that I have a passion for this community. I feel that if I get on the city council, some of the people will have a little bit more faith in this town. That's what I'm told. They don't even vote right now because they've lost faith. I've got 27 of them signed up. They said they're going to vote at least this time, so curious to see how many people actually do come out and vote. I do want to get the theater open. I don't mean pushed as in push. But he closed the theater 10 years ago on Christmas Eve, laid off 22 people, and ain't been back. It ain't been open in 10 years. So I think it's time to push. He's continuing to buy more properties and doing nothing with them. So again, I look forward to the challenge. I too will be open and want to hear everybody's opinion. Can't make everybody happy, but you've got to do what's best for the town. Thank you for coming out.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming here tonight and the other candidates for being civil. It seemed like we all got along very well. The last 2 years on the Dunsmuir City Council has taught me a lot, an extreme amount of knowledge I've gained. Not just over the budget, but how government works, what government can and can't do. That, I feel, is a valuable asset. The community has placed their faith in me for 2 years, and I've learned a lot. And it takes about a year to get up to speed when you get on the city council. It's just the way it is. You need to see this stuff happen, then the next year you're familiar with what happened last year, so you're ready to go. I'm ready to go. I'm ready for another 4 years. We got a lot of good things in the works. We've turned that corner. Dunsmuir is a shining star. If you go to another town and ask them, they say positive things about Dunsmuir. That's not been the case before. We're on the right track, and we need to stay on that track. And I believe that myself and Arla Steele are the best candidates to keep Dunsmuir moving forward. Thank you.
All right, that's it. Let's get one more last round of applause for all the candidates. Once again, a big thank you to the Dunsmuir Chamber for putting on this event. And thanks to Len and the high school for hosting the event. And thank you all for coming. Get out there and vote. Thank you.
Good thing you can